today's video, we're going to be multiplying integers. I recommend you watch my introduction to integers if you haven't yet to get some background knowledge on what they are. It is crucial you know what they consist of and truly mean before performing a mathematical operation. Without much further ado, let's go straight into our lesson. So starting off, you're probably wondering how do you multiply integers. And while there are no exact steps you follow, there are rules you follow. And the reason you follow these rules is because they decide on the final outcome of the integer. So what that really means is they determine if your answer is going to be a positive or a negative. Now, starting off with our very first rule, I have a positive times a positive. And when I multiply those two together, I actually end up with a positive. My final outcome will be a positive. Going on to my second rule, I have a negative times a negative. And when I multiply those two together, I'm going to end up with a positive as well. And how I like to remember these is that if they're the same, that means they're going to be positive no matter what. Now let's switch it up a bit. If I had a positive times a negative, I'm going to end off with a negative. My answer will always be a negative. If I have a negative times a positive, it's going to be negative either way it went. So that's how I like to remember. If they're opposites, they're going to end off as a negative. And if they're alike, then they're going to end off as positives. That's one easy way to remember it, so you know how to apply it when you are solving an equation. So now that we know these rules, let's apply them to 4 examples. And in the bottom left corner, as you see here, I keep them down below because I know if you're learning this for the very first time, I'm not going to expect you to remembering them right off the bat. So, looking at our equation, the following expression, I have negative 10 times 9. So I'm going to write this, and I know that since I have a negative times a positive, I'm actually going to end off with a negative. So of course you're going to multiply accordingly. What's 10 times 9? I know that's 90, and I'm going to drop my negative symbol. My answer would be a negative 90. Now if you put this as a positive, it would be incorrect because once again you have to apply that integer rule for multiplication of integers. That's why it's very important that you incorporate these rules into your final answer. Going on to my second example, I have 7 times 6. These are both positive, so I can multiply accordingly. So 7 times 6 actually gives me 42. Once again, applying the integer rule decides the final outcome of my answer. Is it a positive or is it a negative? Going on to my third example, I have two negatives. Negative 12 times negative 3. And looking at my rules, they're both negatives. So this final answer is going to be a positive. So I actually like to do 12 times 3, and I get 36. And of course, I know it's going to be positive because of that integer rule. So I will not be including that negative sign in my answer. Going on to my fourth and last example, I have 2 times negative 4. So if I have 2 times negative 4, I'm going to set that up. And once again, looking at my integer rules, I know that a positive times a negative, and they're both opposites, is going to end off as a negative. So 2 times negative 4 will actually get me negative 8. Because once again, applying that integer rule for multiplication, since it's two opposite integers, then they're going to end off as a negative. So that is all for today's lesson. This is Ari, the math tutor, signing off, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.